A serial killer is someone who has murdered 3 or more people over a period of more than a month, with a cooling off period between each of the murders. The motive is usually based on psychological or often sexual gratification, though the motives may also include anger, thrill, money, and attention seeking. According to the FBI, more than 70% of serial killers experience problems related to substance abuse, while only a few serial killers were actually addicted to alcohol and substances. Many of them encountered them in their youth. Ted Bundy was born November 24, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont. In the 1970s, he raped and murdered young women in several states. He was connected to at least 36 murders, but some thought that he had committed 100 or more. In the early years of Theodore or Ted Bundy's life, he started out as his mother's secret shame. His mother, Eleanor Kowal, was 22 years old and unmarried when she had her son Theodore, which scandalized her deeply religious parents. She delivered the child at home for unwed mothers in Vermont and later brought her son to her parents in Philadelphia. To hide the fact that he was an illegitimate child, Bundy was raised as the adopted son of his grandparents and was told that he was his mother's sister. Eleanor later moved with Ted to Coahoma, Washington in 1951. She then married Johnny Bundy and had many children together. Around the age of 3, knives fascinated Ted. Ted Bundy was a shy but bright child who did well in school, but not well with others. As a teenager, a darker side of his character started to emerge. Bundy liked to peer in other people's windows and thought nothing of stealing things when he wanted it from other people. While a student at the University of Washington, Bundy fell in love with a wealthy, pretty young woman from California. She had everything that he wanted: money, class, and influence. He was devastated by their breakup, and many of his later victims resembled his college girlfriend. Attractive students with long, dark hair. His killings also usually followed a gruesome pattern. He often raped his victims before beating them to death, and then he would often take their heads as trophies for himself. The exact numbers of women that Bundy killed will never be known. There is also some debate when he started killing, but most sources say that he began his murderous rampage around 1974. By the time he had transformed himself, becoming more outwardly confident and attractive in social and political matters, he had graduated from University of Washington with a degree in psychology in 1972 and had been accepted in law school in Utah. Ted Bundy even got a letter of recommendation from the Republican governor of Washington after working on his campaign. Ted Bundy's final crimes were how he escaped from custody in December 1977. He climbed out of a hole he made in the ceiling of his cell and even dropped more than 30 pounds to fit through the small opening. Authorities did not discover that Bundy was missing for 15 hours, giving the serial killer a big head start on the police. He eventually made his way to Tallahassee, Florida. There, on the night of January 14, 1978, Bundy broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. He attacked 4 of the young female residents, killing 2 of them. On February 9th, Bundy kidnapped and murdered a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. These crimes marked the end of his murderous rampage as he was soon pulled over by the police that February. In July 1979, Bundy was convicted for the 2 Chi Omega murders. The most damning evidence came from his own viciousness. The bite marks on one of his bodies was an identified match for Bundy. He was given the death penalty twice for those 2 crimes. Bundy received another death sentence later the following year in the murder of Kimberly Leach. In 1975, Bundy was arrested in the kidnapping of Carol Drench, one of the few women who escaped his clutches. He was convicted and received a 1 to 15-year jail sentence in that case. 2 years later, Bundy was indicted on murder charges for the death of the young Colorado woman. He decided to act as his own lawyer in this case. During a trip to the courthouse library, Bundy jumped out of a window and made his first escape. He was then captured 8 days later. On January 24, 1989, Bundy met his fate at the Florida State Prison. He was put to death around 7 a.m. that morning in an electric chair, sometimes known as Old Sparky. Outside the prison, crowds cheered and even set off fireworks around Bundy's execution. Death did not stop the public's interest with Ted Bundy. His life has been the subject of countless books and documentaries trying to shed some of the light of the brutal killer's crimes.